Hi everyone, how are you doing today? My name is Pam Barnhill and I am a homeschool mom. I blog at edsnapshots.com and I have two homeschooling podcasts. I have the Homeschool Snapshots podcast and I also have the Your Morning Basket podcast, and you can catch both of those podcasts by subscribing in iTunes or by going to my blog at edsnapshots.com. Okay, so I'm still getting used to the Facebook Live format, and I think there's a little bit of a delay as everybody comes on. And so I don't want to start too soon because I have this is my notes. I have a whole page of notes for you guys today because I wanted to get this one right. I had a reader ask me to talk about the differences between the IEW writing program and the writing and rhetoric program from Classical Academic Press. And I've used both of those programs, one of them a lot more than others. And then as I started writing and preparing, I thought, oh, I've got a couple of other writing programs I could talk about too. So that's what we're going to talk about today, but I want to give everybody kind of a chance to get here. You can comment and let me know that you're here. That would be great. Hey, Sarah, how are you? Chatting in Chrome and watching on her phone. Excellent. I'm so glad you got on. So somewhere in here should be Dawn Garrett, and Dawn Garrett is going to be my lovely assistant for today. Dawn, if you are on, please pop up. There she is. She is joining right now. Hi, everybody. Hi, Heather. Hey, Dawn. Dawn is going to be my lovely assistant today. So what I have done is I have sent Dawn all of the links that I am going to talk about, and she's going to pop them up as I mention them into the comment thread. Now, don't go too far away. And yes, Dawn blogs at ladydusk.blogspot.com, so do check her out. She's a CM mama over there. She follows Ambleside online. Hi, Mary Beth Shaw. It's so nice to have you here, and Jenny. Okay, so she's a great assistant. Dawn's going to be popping up links. So if you see a link from Dawn, that link came from me. The other thing I'm going to ask you guys to do is hold your questions until the end. So I'm going to kind of go through and talk about these different curricula, and then at the end, you can give me your questions, and that way I'll be sure to see them and be able to talk about them here live. And then don't forget, the wonderful thing about Facebook Live is it saves everything. So the comments are saved afterwards, and I can go back in later and answer comments. And you guys, I am not an expert, so you guys feel free to go in afterwards and add to other people's comments and answer other people's questions as well if there's something you have some knowledge about that you would like to share. Okay, so we're about 3 minutes in, so we need to get started talking about all of this stuff. So the question was, how do IEW and writing and rhetoric from Classical Academic Press compare? Okay, so I'm going to start first talking about IEW because this is probably the one I am most familiar with. I've taught using IEW for the past 2 years in my co-op. And I'm going to tell you some of the things that I really like about IEW to get you started. First of all, I think probably the greatest thing about IEW is the teacher training that it provides for the homeschool mom. So this is the old program, and I bought mine used, so unfortunately I was not eligible for the lovely upgrade offer that IEW had. They have a completely new teaching, writing, structure, and style program that's out right now. But this comes with a set of DVDs, and gosh, there's got to be, I don't know, 20 hours of instruction on those DVDs or something like that. It teaches you, the mother, exactly how you are supposed to teach the IEW program to your student. And if you get stuck after that, IEW also has some fabulous teacher help on their website. So they've got their Arts of Language podcast that you can go and check out, and that's completely free, available in iTunes, and they break down some of the different IEW units in that podcast. And then also when you purchase the curriculum, they have, you get a year-long access to webinars that they have. So in addition to the DVDs and everything that you get with the curriculum that you can watch, you know, just at your leisure, and the podcast that you can listen to. You can also jump on once a month, and many times Andrew Pudawa is leading those webinars, and you can ask him specific questions in the webinars. And he's talking about those kinds of things as well. So teacher training, IEW has completely got that covered. Hi, Courtney. Okay, and so that is just one of the things I love about IEW. IEW is very systematic, and it reminds me of kind of the Benjamin Franklin model of learning writing, you know, where Ben Franklin used to go and he would read the essays and things, and then he would go away from those essays and close the book, and he would try to recreate them themselves, and then he would go back and revise and revise and revise. And that was how Ben Franklin taught himself how to write. And IEW is very much like that. They have 9 units in there, and they range from just kind of a learning to narrate back unit, then leading into learning to outline. There's a story writing or fiction writing unit in there, all the way up to how to write an essay, which is unit 8, and how to write a critique, which is unit 9. And all of that is based on looking at a model, creating an outline. There's only one unit, well, 2. There's one unit where you look at pictures and one unit where you pull things out of your brain. But other than that, you are looking at a model, creating an outline, and recreating that in your own words. And I think that some of their stuff on summarizing and teaching kids how to write a report without plagiarizing is some of the best stuff out there, because they really focus on the summarizing and how to do that without, you know, copying what you're not supposed to copy. So model, outline, and then write, and then adding elements of style in your revision. And so they teach you different elements of style, different ways to open sentences, you know, the strong verbs, quality adjectives, ly words, which are adverbs, we know, and they gradually introduce those throughout the program, and you add those in the revision process, and they give you a little checklist to follow. So it's very systematic. One of the things I think that's great about IEW is it's going to take kids who would normally probably really struggle with writing, and it's going to systematically turn them into competent writers. Whether or not they ever love writing or not, it's going to take kids who struggle, and it's going to turn them into writers who are competent. And that's one of the things I love about it. And so I teach it from, they have these themed writing programs. This is an elementary one, all things fun and fascinating. And it just has different animal stories and people like Thomas Edison and Louis Braille and things like that. That's one of the programs I use to teach it at co-op. And then this one is history-based thematic writing, U.S. history-based writing lessons. And you can see they have all the different models and directions in here for you to teach from. So I think that is about all about IEW. Now, my friend Misty uses a similar approach to writing, and she has a blog post on her blog called Teaching Writing Without a Curriculum, and she basically she doesn't use a curriculum, but she uses some of the same principles that IEW uses to teach writing to her boys. And so Dawn's going to throw up the link for that one if you're really brave and would like to teach it without a curriculum. So that's IEW. I really enjoy that program. We will be using it again with our elementary school students. I think it's a great place to start. The moms at our co-op really love it because they sit in on the class and they feel competent when they go home to teach to their kids. Now, I have to say, if I were doing this at home with my kids and I had the money for it, I would totally buy the program where they watch the DVD and Andrew teaches it to the children and I'm just the assistant, because Andrew Pudawa is an excellent teacher. He is really funny and engaging, even through a DVD, and the kids love it. And so that's a great way to go. If you're looking to do IEW and you're looking to do it at home and you can afford that set of student DVDs, then that's a fabulous way to do it, is to just have Andrew teach the classes for you because he's the pro. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about writing and rhetoric. So this is a fun program. So this is book 1, Fable, and I used this. We didn't make it through the whole book. I used it for part of the year with my daughter Olivia 2 years ago, and then we started doing IEW in co-op. And so I'm really looking forward to it because next year our middle school in co-op is going to be using writing and rhetoric. So in our School A group, our co-op, we're going to be using IEW for the elementary school, but our middle school is going to be using not this book, but the next level up of writing and rhetoric. And so I'm really excited about this. And let me tell you what I love about this. This is from Classical Academic Press. And you know, Classical Academic Press talks a lot about the practice of School A, or restful learning. And I have to say, of all of their curriculum that I have ever seen, this one right here hits School A on the head. I mean, it's got School A all over it. And that is one of the things I love, love, love about this little program. It's very School A, but it's based on the Pro-Gym, and I'm going to try to say the whole word. It's the Pro-Gym Nasmata. Okay, so Jennifer Dow is saying that they use CAP in their community as well, and that they love it. And so I'm going to shorten that to Pro-Gym. So this method of teaching writing is thousands of years old. It goes back to the Greeks and the Romans, it's based on, it's a preparation for rhetoric later on, and it's based on learning these different skills of writing, and you model after things like fable and narrative, and then you get into things like commonplace, which takes you into persuasive essay writing. So all of our modern composition was based on these models and skills from this very old method, and that's where they kind of drew out writing and rhetoric. But this is a beautiful program. Let me see if I can find you some pictures. I love the artwork in the program. It also has models in the program, and I'm not sure. Somebody tell me, does that flip that for you, or is that backwards? I love the models in the program. They're excellent quality literature. I really, really love it. And so if you go through a lesson, you do have a model. This is what I would say is a beautiful and full language program. So you do have a model or an example at the beginning. Then you practice narration. You do, there's all kinds of wonderful etymology in here, and they talk about the Latin roots of words and things of that nature. Then they give you questions for discussion. And this was one of my favorite things about the program, is you can really get into meaty discussion with your kids through this writing program. And that was something that I loved about it. There's a bit of copy work in here. There's also a bit of dictation in here, and we're going to talk a little more about the importance of that later. There's all kinds of wordplay and sentence play, where you're playing with words and sentences and creating better sentences. And then there's a writing assignment for each lesson in here that you do. And there's not as much teacher training with this one. There is Frontmatter in the teacher's edition, and I will be studying that very closely this summer as I prep to use this with my middle school students next year. So there's Frontmatter in the front that tells you, introductory material. What age is this suitable for? Allison White says, okay, I said I was going to answer questions, but I will. So it starts 3rd grade, and right now they have programs that go up to, I would say, probably 8th grade. So basically, you're supposed to do 2 of these books in a year. And Sarah is right. She's saying the copywork dictation, it can easily be adapted to oral if you have non-writers. And I tell you, when I was doing the dictation with my daughter, they give like 2 or 3 sentences. We did 1 sentence. The narration was definitely oral, and I did have her do the copywork. So, but the discussion also is you don't have to have them write the answers in the book. It can be oral as well, but you're just having those great conversations with your kids. But I will be studying the Frontmatter, and then they also have little gray boxes at the beginning of each lesson that explain to you exactly how exactly what the objectives are for each lesson. So there are some good helps here. If you get stuck on this one, you can always email Classical Academic Press. The people there are very supportive and will email you back with an answer. And I know that Emily is one of the girls who works in their office, and she is actually tutoring students using this program. So it's like the people who are answering your email are not just people who are working in an office, they're actually teaching the program with others. And so usually if I have a writing and rhetoric question, they steer me towards Emily to answer my questions, and she is actually using the program and teaching it. So I love this program so very much. I love the discussion part of this program. I love the beauty of this program, the pacing of this program. There's a lot that I like about it. And I think it's just wonderful. I think the models are wonderful and the artwork is wonderful, and it's just a wonderful experience to have with your child. My daughter, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about her in just a minute, but she's a natural writer, and she did very well with it. So, okay, if you are interested in more information about the ProGym, Brandy Vinsel has a series of posts on her blog that get really pretty detailed, and she is a CM, a Charlotte Mason. That was a slip there. A Charlotte Mason homeschooler, and she talks about how she did the ProGym with her oldest child, and they really didn't use a curriculum. She bought one for a little bit of guidance at the beginning. She only got the teacher's book. She looked at it herself, and then she guided her student through it. So that's another great article to look at that'll dig a little deeper into exactly what the ProGym is all about. But the writing and rhetoric also just very simply walks you through it. And sometimes I like to spend money just for convenience, and this certainly does it. Okay, so let me talk a little bit about another writing program. Those were the ones that the main questions were about, but I want to talk about the Writer's Jungle. And actually, I'm going to talk a little more about bravewriter.com. Now, this is Julie Bogart's program, and I just had her on the podcast, on the Your Morning Basket podcast not too long ago, talking about free writing. But she has a series of podcasts on her website, and her website is bravewriter.com, and she has a series of podcasts on there all about what she calls the natural stages of growth in writing. I don't care what writing program you're using, you need to go and listen to that series of podcasts. Julie is very much about providing moms support and empowering moms in teaching writing to their students. And so it doesn't matter what writing program you're using. If you listen to the natural stages of growth, then you can apply those to any writing program. And so one of those is the jot it down stage. That's the stage that you start with Julie. And the next one is partnership writing. And I have used both of those with writing and rhetoric, the philosophy behind those with writing and rhetoric, and with IEW with my daughter. And then she goes on to explain the rest of the stages in writing, and it's really great information there. So my daughter is all fairies, unicorns, butterflies, and like I said, she's one of those kids that Susan Weiss Bauer would call a kind of a natural writer. She just kind of got it. And that's a reference to my conversation with Susan Weiss Bauer from the Homeschool Snapshots podcast. And I'm trying to think of the number of that episode, maybe 24, where I chatted with Susan. And Olivia is very much that way. She's very much a natural writer. She very much just kind of thinks in an organized fashion and can put things down. That's not to say she doesn't need revision. That's not to say that things can't be made better. But a lot of things come out sounding pretty good, to begin with. And that's just the way she thinks. Maybe it's all the audiobooks that she's listened to. And so she was getting really upset with IEW. She was just one of those kids that after doing it for a year and a half, she was feeling kind of stifled. And honestly, if she were in Andrew's class, this probably wouldn't have been a problem. He probably could have led her right through it. So I'm taking all the blame on this one as far as my ability as a teacher. But she really felt kind of squelched by the whole program. And so what I did was I kind of pulled her out of that writing class at our co-op, and I signed up for a Kids Write Basic class at Brave Writer for Olivia for this spring. And so Brave Writer has a couple of things. First of all, Julie has written this book here, and actually I call it a writing manifesto. This is not a writing curriculum, it's a writing manifesto. And there's a lot of great information in here. All of Julie's stages of writing information are in here, and then the process that she uses in Brave Writer. And but because it is a manifesto and not a curriculum, it wasn't working with my linear brain. And so I signed Olivia up for Kids Write Basic class, and she has been loving it. She has been absolutely loving it. And the teacher there has been walking me through. And I think part of the problem is Olivia and I very much are complete and total opposites. I'm very linear. Olivia's like, ooh, let me mind map. And that's just not me. And so the teacher there in the Kids Write Basic class is kind of walking me through the steps and helping me as the mother be empowered. Yes, the Brave Writer classes are 6 weeks long. You sign up for a class, they put you in a forum. It's all text-based. There is a lot of text in there, but the teacher is writing and responding to you, answering your questions. I asked a question this morning. It was answered by lunchtime. All of the teachers in there have been homeschool moms and professional writers. And so this leads me to kind of the next thing I wanted to say about writing curriculum, and that is the best writing curriculum is the one that's getting done at your house. I think any of these writing curricula are great, fabulous writing curricula. You need to find the one that fits your child the best. And so I have a feeling, just based on my experience so far, even just into the 4th week of this 6-week class, that the Brave Writer is a great fit for Olivia. Now, she's going to be doing writing and rhetoric at co-op next year, and I can take some of the principles I'm learning and apply them because she's going to be doing that with her classmates. I'm not brave enough to strike off and do Brave Writer at co-op, and I really love the writing and rhetoric program for that group. But you know, you have to find what works for your kid. I really think that my son is going to respond a lot better to IEW than what she did. So I think you have to go with what works for your kid. And that leads me to another person I wanted to talk about today, and that is Susan Weiss Bauer. And she has some wonderful lectures on her website over at Peace Hill Press, and Dawn's going to throw up a link to one of them here. I cannot even remember the name. 8 years old would be fine, Dawn, for a Brave Writer class, because the class is for the mom. They're teaching you how to teach your kid using the Brave Writer thing. So Brave Writer does a really great job of empowering the mom and teaching the mom how to teach, very much so. Okay, Susan Weiss Bauer's audio workshops. She has these audio workshops on teaching writing. She has one for elementary school, one for middle school, and one for high school. I've only listened to the elementary school one, but guys, it was awesome. It really reminded me of the fact that there's a lot of different skills that go into teaching your child to write, and you need to separate out the mechanics of writing from composition. And so that's a big thing, and you've got to teach your child to hold words in their head and then get them down onto paper. And one of the ways you do that is through dictation. And but then the act of composing, you know, the child needs to learn to narrate to you. So Susan Weiss Bauer has a lot of great things. She also has her own writing program called Writing. The first level is called Writing with Ease, and then it goes into Writing with Skill. And she has a book called The Complete Writer. I have not read it. I think it would be a worthy read based on the audio lectures. But, and yes, her lectures are very economically reasonable, and I recommend almost all of them. I've listened to a lot of them. So Susan's lectures, if you have an elementary writer, it's I think you should totally get that one and listen to it. It's $3, and there's a lot of great information in there for you. And then she told me when I interviewed her in the podcast that her program was basically teaching writing to kids who were like engineer minds, had an engineer mindset. And so, taking those kids who were not natural writers and giving them the skills they need to become a writer, whether they like it or not. So, anyway, so that's some good information. Okay, so I am going to take questions. I have not used, by the way, I have not used Susan Weiss Bauer's program, Writing with Ease. I contemplated doing it this year with my son, and I decided against it because he will be moving into IEW at our Scholé group next year. And so I decided, I actually had the PAL writing program from IEW, which does the very beginnings of their writing program. And so I've been using that with him this year. He's been creating an ABC book about Pokemon, full of who, which sentences and quality adjectives and ly words and strong verbs, and so he's learning the terminology that he's going to turn around and use next year in the writing program at our Scholé group. So, but I almost bought Writing with Ease for him because I think it would be a good fit for him because he is that kind of kid. Okay, so questions. Recommendation for sentence diagramming. My recommendation for sentence diagramming is to wait until middle school or junior high school. And there you go. Do you need to do writing and rhetoric in order? Yes, you do. And so like the Fable book starts in 3rd grade, and there is a book 2, and then Emily told me it's along about book 3 or book 4 that is your kind of your latest entry point into the program, because after that, if you haven't done the earlier books, the skills are building on each other so much. And so you can probably start this one about as late as 5th grade, and then the other one, the book 2, probably about as late as 6th grade. But you're going to want to do them in order, most definitely. There is an order. All right, I'm losing. Let me see. Can I scroll backwards? Yes, I can. Okay. So, yes, you need to do writing and rhetoric in order. Let me see. Recommendations for laying the foundations for writing for very young kids. Okay, well, there are a few things you can do. 6.5. Okay, so read to them a lot. Read out loud to them a lot, so they're getting those reliably consistent, sophisticated language patterns that Andrew Pudawa talks about. Nurturing competent communicators is a great free talk at IEW. So read aloud to them, because if they are only reading to themselves, they are reading very quickly, and they're reading in chunks, and they're not getting the language patterns in their brain. So number 1, read aloud. Number 2, have them narrate back to you. Narration is an oral form of writing. And so Susan, nope, wrong name. Sonia Schaefer at Simply Charlotte Mason has great resources over there about narration. And I also interviewed her on Your Morning Basket about narration. So narration for a 6.5-year-old is a great practice. And then the other thing you would want them to do is if they are narrating to you, you want to jot it down. And so that goes back to Julie at Brave Writer. You also want them doing, flexing those writing muscles, but you want them copying things, not coming up with their own things to write. And Susan Weiss Bauer covers that in that elementary writing talk that she gives. Okay. Show the back pyramid, Pam. Okay, so here's the writing and rhetoric back pyramid. That's what Dawn wants me to show. Okay. So there's like a whole entire program there. Okay, let me see if I can go on. A combo of Brave Writer and IEW with the same child. I suppose you could. I don't know that it wouldn't necessarily be overkill to do both. If you have a child who's maybe leaning Brave Writer, then I would just go Brave Writer. And then if you have a child who, you know, just seems really logical and systematic, I think I would go IEW. But you can always use those Brave Writer philosophy and principles, natural stages of growth with your IEW materials. But I don't know that I would say, oh, let's smush them together and do both. Let's see. Once again, putting together writing and rhetoric and IEW, Brave Writer, you certainly can, because Julie's program, she has a program that will teach you how to teach your child to write, but she has so much more than that. There's a huge philosophy there. So it would just be a matter of marrying a lot of the ideas from her philosophy into using the program. Okay, so Courtney's saying she uses Michael Clay Thompson for sentence diagramming. I have used that with kids before, and I do really like that, but I don't beat that horse until middle school. Okay, Heather says she uses IEW and Susan Weiss Bauer. Yes, Amy, you are right. I would double check with the people from CAP, but my understanding based on the conversation I had with Emily is if you have an experienced writer, if you have a child who has been learning to write already, you could skip books 1 and 2 and start with 3. A brand new writer, though, you're going to want to start with book 1. Okay, I'm trying to catch up. Okay. Recommendations for a 6th grader and a 4th grade level in writing, at a 4th grade level in writing who doesn't like to write. Brave Writer, because that's going to give you a lot of the help you need. Well, you know, honestly, it depends on the child. If the child is fairies and unicorns, definitely Brave Writer. If the child is systematic and logical, there's an ease to IEW. If you're wanting to have great conversations with your kids and introduce them to the beauty of language and you're willing to sit there and scribe for them, go with writing and rhetoric. So, okay. All right, there's some other questions people are asking each other, which is great. All right. Oh, I'm at the bottom. Hi, Betty. How are you? Okay, so you guys are kind of conversing amongst yourselves. That's wonderful. The comments will stay live after the video is up on replay, and so we can go back and answer each other in the comments. The most important thing, Laura, there would not be a problem other than, you know, are you going to absolutely wear your child out on writing? So remember, Cindy Rollins says, take the summer off. Give everybody a break. So, you know, that's something to consider as well. The best writing program is the writing program that you and your child love, mostly your child, because I think writing programs are adaptable for any mom. You know, they can work on it. Let's keep the child happy and, you know, go with something that's just going to keep their attitude towards writing really, really good. And for some kids, that's going to be the more structured, systematic program. For other kids, it's going to be the more discussion-based, delightful program. And you've just got to find the one that works for your child and then stick with that approach. So I hope this was helpful. You guys have an awesome day. Leave any additional questions in the comments and I'll try to get back to you in a timely manner and get those answered. And you guys have a great one. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Dawn, so much for dropping those links. I appreciate it.